Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the fourth session of the iGlobal Living Bridge Conversations live series. I'm Ekta Bajaj, author and motivational speaker, and your host for the evening. Now, I'll be talking to dancer and well-being coach and a fabulous person, Vena Ramphal. What an inspiring person she is. At iglobalnews.com, the premier multimedia hub for global Indians. Today, we are going to be seeing exploring about dance and yoga and expression, and a topic very close to my heart, and that is expressing freely. And that is something we were just having a chat with. We'll continue with that online here. Do drop in your comments, and we'll pick up anything during this very insightful discussion. Now, before you go and we get right into this conversation, let me tell you a little bit about Living Bridge Conversation live series, which has been launched to complement iGlobal Diwali Fest 2021 in person Living Bridge Conversations. Booking is open. If you haven't done now, this is the right time to book. You still have a week to go. And moving on, let's see. Learn something more about a fabulous guest here today, Vena Ramphal. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Oops.
Hi, Ekta. I'm delighted to be here with you.
What a lovely person to speak to. And this is, some people you just get that instant connection in terms of that, that mentally you just connect, spiritually you connect. And I can just see that happening here because you certainly doing something that I totally connect with. That is spirituality and expression. But before we get to that, I just want to understand, you're born in the UK and you're so deeply connected to the Indian heritage. You're wearing this lovely sari and looking so beautiful. So I just want to know, how has this Indian culture, how has it helped you understand yourself more?
I think I was very fortunate to grow up in a family where, we were immersed in all of the classical cultures, in the epics. I grew up with Sanskrit. And even as a teenager, I remember when my peers at school were all listening to pop music, I was listening to my Bharatanatyam music, and that was what I had playing in my head. And I would save up my pocket money to buy these enormous books on Indian sculpture. It's just been something that I've always been drawn to. And ultimately it's that questing, that seeking to understand ourselves as human beings, which is such a core part of the Indian wisdom traditions. And in many ways, this is our gift to the world, right? We're constantly seeking, how can we express our humanity better? How can we understand ourselves better? How can we reach for enlightenment? So it enriched my life and continues to enrich my life in so many ways.
Wow. So, and how old were you when you say you were little? How old were you when you were drawn to this Indian? I mean, you started reading these texts, because certainly they are not very simple. They are at that age, they are quite complex.
It's interesting. I think I was 4, maybe 4.5 when I was started on the Upanishads.
Wow.
And the Upanishads, not even the Gita, which is relatively simple, but the Upanishads, which are very esoteric. But here's the interesting thing. I think that as a child, when you haven't had concepts and ideas and teachings kind of restricting you, you have an open perception that allows you to reach into the essence of the words that are being given to you, and you retain them. So I mean, I still remember the translation of the Isha Upanishad and the Kenad. I remember them in my mind. So I remember that, this sense of that is replete, this is replete, everything is replete, everything is complete. If you take completion away from completion, what remains is complete. And it's the translation of Purnamada Purnamidam, which many of our viewers will recognize that Sanskrit.
Yes.
Now, because I was introduced to that so young, of course, you're right. At the time, I couldn't analyze it. I didn't know what it meant, but it went in at a very deep, I guess, subconscious level. So now when I look at life and try to understand it, I can understand that verse in the context of relationships, for example,
Wow, I
in the context
completely
of
get you.
music.
I
Yeah.
completely get you because when I was little, I was quite interested, and I thought I was the only weird one. But I have someone who thought the same. But I chose to express that through words, and you chose dancing. So how did dancing it channelized all that knowledge, all that understanding that you got as a child, and in your own innocence, whatever you interpreted it, I believe you channelized it to dancing, and has it been therapeutical? Does it help in any way? How does it enhance our well-being?
So here's the thing about Indian dance in particular. It is particularly designed to bring a sense of deep stability and coherence into the body at a structural level, at a skeletal level, but also at a cellular level and a neurological level. So I'll give you an example. Whenever we train in classical Indian dance, any of the classical Indian dances, we train to repeat the steps on the right side and the left side. And that's done for a very particular reason. It's not just that it helps you to remember it. It's done because what that achieves is that it stimulates both sides of the central nervous system,
Wow.
one after the other. So it brings your brain, the right and left halves of your brain, into a deep coherence. So it's taking you into a whole brain state, which is a state of great ease and alertness. So this is how intelligent our art forms are. They are essentially, Indian dance is a yogic practice.
It is. And as you say now, I can almost see why Indian dance was so deeply connected to first understanding the words. Like you naturally were inclined to understand the scriptures, but certainly that helped you understand why that balance and harmony has to be created. And then, as you say, it's a yoga in its own. And so, how, I mean, do you think it has helped you incorporate yoga in your daily life? All of this, is that all mixed? Is it something that works together well, better?
It, it definitely works together well. I would also say that with regards to the kind of, there's the sort of theoretical aspect of philosophy that we hear about, and we know that there's a need to create health and coherence. But with dance, I was able to make it real in my body. So with regards to the relationship between dance and yoga, I don't mix them in the sense that we shouldn't be kind of taking a yogasana and just randomly mixing things at all, but they complement each other. And there are certain aspects like breath, like pranayama, which it is possible to incorporate within dance because obviously we're breathing anyway. So there are certain pranayama techniques that one does incorporate, and I certainly do incorporate in my 5-element dance. And I've found that in terms of the benefits, the well-being benefits, there are benefits on the physical level, but also the mental and emotional level, because that stability that I was talking about earlier, that whole brain state, that's good for the body, but very importantly, it creates a mental stability and an emotional stability. You're able to handle life much more easily. And I've found that, we grew up at a time before social media and before all of these wonderful tools, and they are wonderful, but they can take over if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
You know this, right? We have so much data coming at us. And I think that's why, for me, it's even more important now in today's world that we can use these tools like yoga and classical Indian dance to bring that balance.
And in a way, all of these are gifts of our ancient, you know, Vedas to us, and a gift for us to understand ourselves and a gift for us to express ourselves. But we'll talk more about this, and what an interesting conversation this is going. But we'll just take a short break here. So, with these Living Bridge conversations, iGlobal brings to you many fun recipes, inspiration.
iEntertainment is brought to you by iGlobal for all the latest film and series reviews, star interviews and cinema listings covering Bollywood and beyond to reflect a truly pan-Indian entertainment spectrum. Check out the latest at iglobalnews.com.
All right. So coming back to where we were working from, I've always been had an urge to ask this to any classical dancer or anyone who appreciates Indian heritage so much. You see how people how dancing has evolved. We have Bollywood, we have other forms of dancing. Do you think the essence of dancing is somewhere getting lost in all of that? Is classical singing the first step towards learning any other form of dance? That's my simple question.
Okay. I wouldn't say that anything is lost necessarily, because I have to say, as a dancer, I am intrigued by all forms of dance. Everything from hip hop to jive to Bollywood. I'm just fascinated by any time I see coordinated movement. And it's like, what can the human body do there? What's going on there? It's really interesting. And they all have different roles to play, I guess, in life. They bring different things. What is true with our classical forms, though, is that they do have this spiritual basis. That is undeniable. And so it takes the whole thing to a different level. It's not just about fitness. It's not just about entertainment. It really is about transforming oneself from the inside out so that you can then express. I mean, when we were chatting earlier, you mentioned freedom and this ability to express and move freely. Well, here's the thing, with our classical dance forms, that freedom sits on this extraordinary depth of tradition and stability and spirituality, which is based on a deep understanding of how the human form functions. So we're not making it up as we go along. We have a very scientific understanding, because yoga is a science and classical Indian dance is a science. It's based on a deep understanding. Yeah, it is absolutely. It's a science and an art together. That's true of dance. It's true of our musical traditions. It's true of our mathematical traditions. It's true of our astrological traditions, because essentially we are seeking to understand how life works with all of these Indian wisdom traditions. So what it is a step towards your spiritual growth. That's certainly how I've experienced it. And as well as the spiritual growth, there is psychological well-being, right? There is this depth of the psychology, as well as an understanding of the physiology. And there is extraordinary beauty. We have the mudras, the hand gestures, which, again, there's this crossover with dance and yoga. Many of the mudras are used in dance and they're also used in yoga. So the question then is, well, why are we even bothering with these mudras? What are they? The truth is that our hands impact the rest of the body because we have this subtle physiology. Many of our audience would have heard about the chakras. We all know about the chakras. Yes. Now, the chakras are part of a subtle physiology that runs right the way through the body. And there are many, many of these points in the hands. So when we form our hands into particular shapes and we hold them in particular shapes, we're actually affecting the energy flow, the flow of prana throughout the entire body. And when you hold a particular shape, or when you make all of these beautiful shapes, as we do in dance, you're actually bringing your entire body into a state of extraordinary flow and coherence. And that is why we use mudras.
It's almost like meditation, and you're right. I mean, the freedom, the expression, and in fact, the tandav, that itself is a meditative dance form, isn't it? And how I'm again intrigued, coming back to the mudras here, which is again a topic very close to my heart, because I'm a thorough follower of Vedanta, and I totally get what you're saying. But could we have some mudras that you could just show us, something that you could just perform for us here?
Sure. Yes. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll show you a particular mudra. This is from, and then I'll demonstrate a small sequence.
Yes.
And these are from my 5-element dance, which is my movement meditation method that I've created, drawing on dance and pranayama, and it's a meditation form, but very beautiful using.
So the 5 elements are the 5 elements of earth, water, air, fire, and space.
Akash, absolutely, that's it. The 5 elements that we're all familiar with, these cosmic elements that make up everything. And I've created 5-element dance so that we can literally experience each of those elements in our bodies. And we use mudras in all of them. So the mudra that I'm going to demonstrate to you is Padma. It's called Padma Kosha, which means a treasury of lotus, and it's a double-handed, 2-handed gesture.
That's like opening it, isn't it? Wow.
That's right. We open and we close because lotuses have this pulse. They open and they close.
And lotus is very, the icon is very much into our spirituality, isn't it? It's the seed of our growing spiritual evolution.
Exactly. It has so much deep symbology in it. And when we hold this in front of the heart like this, and sometimes I will ask people to close their eyes and just experience the feeling. Wow. Actually, what happens is that your emotions start to flow. So this is how dance immediately, classical Indian dance in particular, immediately impacts our emotional well-being. And that's what I'm harnessing in 5-element dance. So it's open to everybody. You don't have to be a trained dancer to do it.
Yeah, that was my next question to you. But, after the mudras, that has all of this helped you can become a more emotionally stable person? Because certainly it's also, you in everything that you're doing, you're bringing harmony, you're bringing peace, you're bringing balance.
Exactly. And you know what? When you do, the more you do that, the more that I do that in dance, that then spills over into my daily life. And I have to tell you, at the times in my life when I've been dancing less, there is definitely less stability. I'm less able to handle things. When I'm dancing more, and that's why I'm now committed to dance throughout the rest of my life, is because I know experientially, without a shadow of a doubt, that it does give you this stability, mental and emotional stability, which you then take through your day. And it benefits everybody around you, of course.
Yes. So is there any other mudra that we can see?
Yes, well, I'll tell you what, I'll show you one of the 5-element flows. And instead of telling you which one it is, I thought it might be funny if I show it to you and see if you can guess which one it is, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Okay.
Sure. That's definitely wind. Beautiful. You're almost flowing like a swan, like a bird, and as if you're just flying there, without really conscious of who's watching or not. There is a sense of freedom that I felt, and it was, I think, the element of air, if I'm not wrong.
That was water. That was water. Yeah,
okay.
That was water.
I may have been wrong.
That's okay. But I also think it's interesting to let people also see what they see, because I think that there is also a great benefit in that. What you were picking up was the floating and the sort of the beauty and that unrestricted feeling, which is very present in air. And actually, that allows me to say that one of the things with 5-element dance is that it's really important to me that people feel free in the movement. So when I demonstrate and when I teach, I'm not asking the students to try to copy me.
Wow.
I want them to allow their eyes to take in what they see, and they'll learn the hand gesture, but then I want their body to interpret it and express themselves very freely. That's really important to me.
That's so good. And that's just giving the freedom to explore to the one who is actually watching us. Yes, definitely. If I completely saw a bird just flying very free, because probably that's my restriction. When I dance, I'm very stiff. And I wish I could be more expressive and more free like you. But do you think that there is a global stage when you teach? Are you finding in more and more children or people coming and experiencing this beautiful form of expression?
Definitely. And, that's one of the interesting things about lockdown and this whole situation that we've all been in, is that more and more people are realizing, oh, actually, I can just, I can use technology to access classes across the world. So definitely there's a global audience. And the thing, Indian classical dance has went global 20, 30 years ago, and it's thriving all over the world, which is fantastic to see. And so, yeah, it is open for everybody who wants to experience more and more well-being. And it's a beautiful way to meditate. That's what I tell people, because a lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate, because they find it hard to sit and close their eyes. Well, this is a beautiful way to meditate. It is a sensory way to meditate. And you get to express your emotions. One thing I've noticed is that this is something that students really appreciate, is that they feel that this is a space in which they can allow their emotions to flow. It's a space for them. Do you know what I mean? It's like self-care time, really.
I can imagine that, because for me also meditation is writing. I can't meditate any other way. I do meditate every day, try to, but when I'm writing, it's almost like being in sync with nature. And that's what I get. What you're trying to say is that this is the time when you're in sync in harmony with the universe, and that's meditation.
Exactly. And so for you, it's through writing. That's where you find your flow.
Yes.
And I find my flow through dance. And isn't that such a wonderful thing, that through these creative activities, they allow us to come into harmony with life, with the universe. It's like we open up that tap, right? We open up that connection.
Beautiful. We'll take these conversations forward. We'll just have a short break so that we can sink in what
iCommunity shines a light on the wide array of community news, arts and culture, and prolific charity efforts within the Asian diaspora networks. It's where the global Indian impact on the ground is celebrated. Log on at iglobalnews.com.
Welcome back, Vena. And we were in a very beautiful moment. I could have just gone and seen more of those beautiful mudras. But what are the projects that you're really working on at the minute? Is there something special you're planning, you're doing?
Well, I just actually completed something really lovely, which is I was commissioned to make a dance film. And it's called Shaping the Timeless. And we actually premiered it yesterday. So I'm hoping there will be other screenings coming up. And I will definitely let you know when that happens. And that's really looking at precisely at this spiritual foundation of Indian dance, and how, with the aim of Indian dance, is to move both the artist and the audience into this spiritual metaphysical state of great harmony. So that has just been a phenomenal thing to do over the summer. And the other thing I've got coming up in November is that I've got 2 courses of 5-element dance, which I am so delighted to bring. I can't wait to share them. One is the fundamentals of 5-element dance, where you will learn the movements and flow and really make that your own. And the other is a slightly larger course called Matrix of Life, where we will learn the movements, but we'll also learn a little bit more about the principles and the philosophy of each of those 5 elements that you mentioned: earth, water, fire, air, and akasha. So we start to get a slightly deeper understanding of our cosmic self. That's what we're touching here, is a cosmic version of yourself.
So some of these courses that you're offering, they are online, right?
Yes, both of these are online. Absolutely.
So I don't know, but I'm quite interested in understanding. Do you have children coming in and learning these?
No, I tend to work with adults.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just always been my focus. Yeah.
Yes, but then
Um,
again, I suppose you have more women coming in.
yes, that is very true.
because
Generally, I have more women.
because because this is all about expression and understanding, and this might give them the space to actually, like you said, it's a me space. It's a very safe space to actually understand yourself and learn to express yourself in a completely different and unique way, in a beautiful way.
Absolutely. Yes. And it is open to everybody, irrespective of gender. And at the same time, you're right. I think that in many ways women have more permission to do these things. And at the same time, I think it's very necessary and important for women to give themselves that space where they can withdraw from their family, they can withdraw from the demands on them and take care of themselves. Just that activity of self-expression is deeply nurturing and is very, very much needed by women. I mean, honestly, the feedback that I get from women who come to do 5-element dance is phenomenal. It is so empowering and so nurturing.
Yes, I
Yeah,
can imagine, because I mean, I believe that women are much more in sync with nature, and because they are the one who are the nurturing grounds for the new, seeds of nurturing comes through them. And once they connect to the elements, like you say, I can imagine how much more sense they get about themselves.
absolutely right.
It's
And you know what's
empowering.
interesting? It's very empowering. And I think that it's not just about having children, because I'm saying that because I don't have children. I have even as a child, I knew I never wanted to have children. But one thing I've realized is that ability to create, that sort of
Yes.
physical ability to create, can very much be turned into other creative projects, such as dance, such as writing, such as creating community. And again, from the yogic perspective, you can either use that energy to create a child, or you can use that energy to regenerate yourself, or you can use that energy to really lift yourself to make yourself into a spiritual being through this process of refinement. There's a kind of alchemical process that happens when we work with the 5 elements. So I would say for women, it's a really important point that it's the creative process is not just about childbearing. That's one expression of
Yes.
it, right? But there are these other expressions that are just as important.
And it might just help anyone who in professionally as well. So to consider me as one of your students very soon, even though I told you I'm very very stiff and not very flexible. But I mean,
It
I'm
really
very much.
doesn't matter. You know, every single body is made of these 5 elements. So you're really just reaching into something that is already present within yourself and allowing that to blossom and express itself.
Beautiful. And talking about celebrations and stuff, we have Diwali coming very, very soon. Is there any special plan?
For me, well, I will probably put on a lovely bright sari like this with my crazily short hair, because I love that kind of paradox, and dance my heart out. I think that's probably what I will be doing. I've always got my Nataraja with me, so yeah.
Oh, wow. Actually, just tell us a little bit about this Nataraja. Very interesting.
There he is.
Very interesting. I don't know if this is true or not. It may be something I've just read over internet, but I read somewhere that you must be really connected to yourself spiritually if you want to keep a Nataraja at home. Is that true in any sense?
Well, I don't think so, because you know, in many ways that they are sculptures unless they've been specifically consecrated. So, you know, for example, if you were to visit the temple at Chidambaram, which has been specifically consecrated, that's a very powerful energetic space. But no, I mean, I would say Nataraja, you know, stands for beauty and for life. There is a statue of Nataraja at CERN, you know, the place where they split the atom, because they recognize that Nataraja represents the dance of life. So, no, Nataraja is for anybody and everybody. That's the great thing about Shiva. He's not fussy. He says yes to everybody. I feel like I was born with a very particular connection to Shiva. And I will, on my last breath, I will have that connection to Shiva. That's just sort of how I'm made. So yeah, I'm always playing with him, and it's a very personal relationship. It's a very playful kind of. He's not a god to me. He's, you know, one of my boys.
Just like Kali is to me, a friend.
Yes.
Not hard to understand, but yes, I get what
it.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, we're just going to come in, and how beautiful, 30 minutes just passed by and we didn't even realize. So we are coming towards the last part of the show, and a quick reminder that we'll be reading out your queries and comments. So if you have any comments, any questions for Vena, this is the right time to ask that. And just before that, let's take a peek at what's in store for Diwali Fest 2021.
Diwali Fest 2021, Living Bridge, iGlobal is back to play host to this year's celebration of the Festival of Lights, themed around the UK-India Living Bridge. Living Bridge conversations, enriching and engaging dialogues with experts in their field, reflecting upon a spectrum of meaningful conversations from the teachings of our scriptures to dharmic inspirations. Diwali Fest Concert, a spectacular Bollywood showstopper evening of power-packed performances by award-winning singers Navin Kundra and Ambika Joyce, and some high-energy performances from the Crew 515 Band and Bollywood Dance School UK. Don't miss out. Book tickets now to join iGlobal on Saturday, 30th of October at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire in association with Birmingham City University. Details at iglobalnews.com, the premier multimedia hub for and about global Indians.
Wow, that looks exciting, especially after a lockdown year. I think we all are looking forward to some form of excitement in our life back. So just looking at some comments, if we have any,
There's one from Aditi.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit
about the role or
none of music? Yes. Okay, wonderful. So great question, Aditi. Thank you. I deliberately do not use music for the 5-element dance movement meditation. And here's why. I want you to tune in to your own inner music, your own inner sound. And often that's the sound of silence, but sometimes that's the sound of your emotions, it's the sound of your thoughts. So when we're moving through these flows, it's really for you to connect inward. And that's why we don't use the external stimulus of music. This is purely for you to connect with yourself. Yeah.
Beautiful. Do we have any other questions? Well, I think then it is time for us to just put an end to this beautiful conversation. And thank you to everyone who's watched us. Aditi, say thanks to you. Thank you to everyone who's been watching us. I certainly learned a lot about dancing and how beautifully it's connected to expression within us, which is a natural, innate ability within every human, but we kind of lose our way somewhere while growing up. So it's always good to go back and find some way of expressing yourself, be it dance, be it writing, be it whatever. And Vena, do you have anything to say before we say goodbye?
It's an absolute delight to be here on the show and to speak about all of this. I would say that if for those of you who would like to find out more about 5-element dance and the courses, all of those details are all on my social media. So please do have a look. It's venaramphal.dance and Vena Ramphal on Twitter.
Thank you so much, Vena. It's been an absolute delight speaking to you. With that note, we'll say goodbye to our audience today. And do not forget about the Diwali Fest 2021, which is coming up, and iGlobalnews.com. That's where you can book your tickets for all the fun that's waiting for you on 30th of October. Thank you so much, Vena. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
iGlobal Radio is the brand new hub of podcasts for and about global Indians. News, views, interviews, wellness, money matters, and much, much more. Tune in to iGlobal Radio at iglobalnews.com.